Hey guys, it's me, Travis. I'm the CEO and founder of PlayerProps.ai, the #1 sports betting research app for skill levels of all ranges. So if you are a day one bettor or if you've been betting for decades, doesn't matter. I built an app that's specifically for you. Now, while we're not going to be going too far into that app and how to use it for NFL on this episode, do check all of the other episodes that we have for you, helping you with NFL betting specifically. This one, we're kind of just going over the super basics for the day one bettors. Maybe you've dabbled in some MLB, some NBA, whatever it may be. Now you're ready to step into NFL betting. I want to go over stuff that nobody teaches you directly, and that you may be afraid to ask questions to your friends because they may make fun of you if you don't know something that to them is pretty simple. So, best part about PlayerProps.ai and our entire community of 17,000 plus people in the Discord, which is free to join, and the mobile app is free to download as well. We have a free version of that. We get a free Discord to join. There's no such thing as dumb questions. So that's the biggest part of why we're the best sports betting community on planet Earth. We have no trolls, no toxicity. We banned all of that. And this is a helpful community, and this app, the PlayerProps.ai app, is a helpful resource to you. Now, on the screen, as you see, just pulled up a sportsbook at random that had week one lines. We can go through them. We have FanDuel Sportsbook pulled up here. So I'm just going to kind of go through some basic stuff for you. If you have any questions that this show doesn't answer, just ask me in the comments, or even probably easier, just to ask me in Discord. So let's kind of go through things here one at a time. So there's a bunch of stuff that you kind of need to pay attention to. And you see I have the little mouse cursor kind of highlighting things on the screen here. The reason why I have the mobile view pulled up, not the desktop view, is because chances are, more often than not, when you're betting or researching, you're going to have more likely 70% chance you're going to be on your phone. So I'll make sure I show the version that you're actually going to be using to not confuse where you find things. So the first thing is, there are three main traditional bets when it comes to NFL betting, and they're kind of highlighted here. We have spread bets, money line bets, and total bets. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through what each of those mean. So the first thing is spread bets. What does a spread bet mean? We have this first game, the kickoff game of the NFL season, September 4th, 8:21 p.m. as it shows right here. Dallas Cowboys have a plus 6.5 number with a minus 102 number. Eagles have a minus 6.5 number followed by a blue minus 120 number. So what is that trying to tell us? When you have a symbol, so let's focus on these black numbers first. When you have a symbol of minus or plus, that kind of tells you who's favored and who's an underdog. So when we see that the number here on both sides, the black 6.5 and the black 6.5 here, this is always going to be the same number in every matchup. So 2.5, 2.5, 6.5, 6.5, 2.5, 2.5, 3, and 3. It's all the same stuff. But what difference is the symbols. So when we see the minus symbol next to the 6.5, that tells us that the Philadelphia Eagles are favored. Now, we can also look at the same thing here for the money line, but I'll get into that in a second. So the first thing is minus 6.5. Okay, that's a minus symbol. The Eagles are favored to win this game. Dallas has a plus symbol. Dallas is an underdog in this game. But what does the 6.5 mean? So 6.5 is essentially, it's a math equation that you don't necessarily have to do the math in your head, but look at it like a math equation. So let's give a scenario that the final score of the NFL kickoff game for the 2025 season, let's say hypothetically it's Eagles 20 and Dallas Cowboys 10. So let's just say that's what the score is. So what this spread does with minus, it actually subtracts 6.5 points from the Eagles spread. So Eagles have 20 in my scenario, Cowboys have 10. If we take 6.5 away from the score that they actually did finish with, which was 20, how much is left? Well, 20 minus 6.5, that results in 13.5. 13.5 plus 6.5, that equals 20. So if we subtract 6.5 from what the Eagles actually scored with, their new score, their post-spread score, is 13.5. So now what we do to determine if we won or lost, take that 13.5, which is the new score after the math, and compare it against the Dallas Cowboys' real score. Is 13.5 more or less than the 10 that the Dallas Cowboys scored in this game? It's more. So if you bet on minus 6.5 and you did the math, okay, Eagles scored 20, minus 6.5, that means they have 13.5 points. Did that still beat the Dallas Cowboys? If it did still beat the Dallas Cowboys, it's a win. If the math, whatever the number was, whatever the score was, after you subtracted, if it was maybe, let's just say the score is 15-10. So if we subtract 15 or 6.5 away from the 15 score that the Eagles had, what's 15 minus 6.5? You want to do that math in your head? The 0.5s kind of make it a little bit more difficult if it was whole numbers, which it is sometimes, like you see down here at the threes. It makes the math easier, but the 6.5, what that does is it makes it where it's impossible for the scores to tie after that math is done. When you come down here to the -3 and the +3, that actually gives it a chance that the scores can tie. So if the Steelers, which are -3, if they win the game by exactly 3 points, which, let's just say they have a kickoff or they have a field goal at the end of the game, they win by 3. That is the exact same score. So let's say it's 13-10. 13 minus 3 is 10. 10-10 both sides. If it ties after the math, then it's called a push. And what a push means is it's like the bet never happened. So if I bet $10 on Pittsburgh Steelers -3 and they won by exactly 3 points, that bet gets canceled, and that $10 I bet on Pittsburgh -3, that gets right back to me. So you don't lose that money, but it just makes it where you don't win any money. So going back to the scenario of the kickoff game, if the Cowboys or if the Eagles only won by a number that was less than 6.5, maybe they only won by 5 points, after you do the math, it's going to make it where after you do the math, the Eagles have a lower score than the Cowboys. So what did I say earlier? I said, 15? So 15 minus 6.5 is 8.5? Eagles 8.5. How much points do the Cowboys actually score in the game? They scored 10. Is 8.5 higher or lower than 10? It's lower. So if I bet Eagles -6.5 and they only win by 5 points, I lose the bet. Even if the Eagles win the game, it doesn't matter if they win. They have to win by a certain amount. So after you do the -6.5 to their final score, they still have to be in the lead. So in the same example, what was the first score we did? Eagles 20, Dallas Cowboys 10. So let's go to here. Let's say I bet Dallas Cowboys plus 6.5. If they lose by 10 points, or if it's 20-10, you add plus 6.5 to their score. So now they have 16.5 points. 10, which is what they scored, plus the 6.5, that is 16.5. Eagles scored 20. Cowboys now have a post-math 16.5 points. Is that high enough to beat the Eagles with their actual score? No. So plus 6.5 loses because the Eagles won by 10 points. Going back to the 15-10 score, if we add 6.5 to the 10 for Cowboys, they have 16.5. Does that beat the 15 points that the Eagles scored in the second scenario? Yes. So even if the Cowboys lose the game, because they have a higher score after you do the plus 6.5, they win the bet. So the spread is not just who wins the game, it's how many points did the winning team win by, or how many points did the losing team lose by. Now, if you do Dallas Cowboys plus 6.5, if they just win the game without any math, so let's say the actual score is Dallas Cowboys 21, Eagles 20, you don't need to worry about any math. If they win the game, it doesn't matter what happens with this number here. They automatically win this bet for you. So if you bet 6.5 and the Cowboys win, you win. If you bet plus 6.5 and the Cowboys lose, but they only lose by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or 6 points, you will still win this bet. The only way you lose Dallas Cowboys plus 6.5 is if the Eagles win by 7 points or more. Same thing with the Eagles. If you bet minus 6.5 Eagles, the only way you lose this bet is if the Eagles, A, lose the game, or they only win by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or 6 points. The only way you can hit this bet is if the Eagles win and they win by at least 7 points or more. So that is what spread is in a nutshell. Now, these blue numbers, that's just how much the sportsbook's going to pay you based on what these numbers are. So the higher the number next to the minus sign, the lower amount that you're going to get paid if the bet is correct. So if I were to bet on either of these, I would make more money because the minus 120 is a higher number next to the minus sign. Sometimes you'll see pluses. So if we scroll down here, see the Raiders game, it's a 2.5 spread, it's plus 100. The higher the number next to the plus symbol, the more money that the sportsbooks will pay you if you're correct. So it works different ways. The higher the number next to the minus symbol, the less they're going to pay. The higher the number next to the plus symbol, the more they're going to pay. It doesn't necessarily mean you just want to go to minus 102 because they pay you more if you win. You want to make sure that the research you do using the PlayerProps.ai app, we actually have an NFL spread predictor tool specifically for this. You want to make sure that it's a bet that makes sense, and you're not just betting because you want to have the highest payout possible, which, I'll throw this in here as just an educational lesson, a golden nugget. 99% of people that have bet on sports are losing bettors because they solely focus on clicking on things that result in the highest payout. Zero research, zero, not even gut feeling, which you shouldn't even bet on anyway, but they're just trying to turn $1 into $1 million, and that's not how sports betting works. So that's NFL spread betting, right? Now, Moneyline, great news for you. No math needed, 100 times easier. Money or Moneyline. Moneyline is literally just betting on which team is going to win the game. Eagles are minus 330. Cowboys are plus 265. It doesn't matter what the score is. As long as the Eagles win and you bet on Eagles Moneyline, you win the bet. If you bet for the Dallas Cowboys to upset the Eagles, remember, if you see a plus symbol, that means they're an underdog. If an underdog wins, we call it an upset. If the Dallas Cowboys beat the Eagles and you bet on this right here, the plus 265, then you win your bet. So here, you can win your bet if they still lose, but they lose by 6 points or less. But here, you can only win if they win the game. That's why they pay you a little bit more, because remember, the higher the number next to the plus symbol, the more the sportsbook pays you. The higher the number next to the minus symbol, the less the sportsbook pays you. So out of all 6 of these bets, and we'll get to total in a second, out of all 6 of these bets, this one pays the most. Why does it pay the most? Because it's the least likely outcome out of all 6 of these bets. If something, the sportsbooks will pay you more because you're doing more of a risk. So the Eagles, because they're favored to win by at least 6.5 points or 7 points if you round up, it's not really, you're not choosing anything crazy if you're just choosing them to win the game in general. They're already favored to win by a certain amount. If you just say they're going to win by 1 point, the sportsbooks aren't going to pay you that much because that's already what's most likely going to happen. When you go against the grain and you choose something that's not likely to happen, that's when they pay you more because you took on more risk. If you take on less risk, they're not going to pay you that much. So that's kind of how to think about the minus and the plus symbols there. The last thing we're going to go over on the screen right here is total. Total, there is some math, but I think it's a little bit easier than spread. I mean, it could be different for you, but I just think it's easier than spread. So the number on the top and bottom is the exact same, just like we see here with the black numbers on spread. The number's always the same. Why? Because you're saying with this O and U, these stand for over and under. So you're saying, okay, the total score of both teams combined, so at the end of the game, you take the score of the Cowboys, you take the score of the Eagles, and you add them together, is that score going to be over 46.5 or under 46.5? And that's essentially all that you're choosing. What is the total score number at the end of the game when all is said and done? If the game goes into overtime and somebody scores a touchdown overtime, that counts. The total score when the game is 100% final, what is that total score? Is it higher than 46.5 or less? So let's do an example here. Let's say the Philadelphia Eagles win the game 27-20 because they won by 7 points. This bet hits. Because they won the game in general, this bet hits. But 27-20, what is 27 plus 20? It is 47. So this hits because they win by 7. This hits because they win the game. And this hits because the score was over 46.5. It was 47. Let's do the other scenario on the flip side of it. Let's say the score is 23-20. If the score is 23 Eagles, Cowboys 20, the Eagles bet still wins because they won the game. The plus 6.5 wins because the Cowboys lost by 6 or less points. They lost only by 3 points here. They had 20. equals that 23, and 20 plus 23 is 43 points, which is less than 46.5. So the under 46.5 hits. So those are the three super, super basic bets that you will see. Now, when you want to kind of step into what I call the Thunderdome, and you want to see the trillions of other things these sportsbooks offer you, that's where you can click right here to see more wagers. It'll show you more wagers for this game. This is where you'll find player props. This is where you'll find different lines and everything beyond the normal 6. But because we're recording this so early, well before the season, those aren't out yet. We haven't even had a preseason game start by the time I recorded this. I just want to go over the basic things here. Some other things to look at that is available are what we call futures bets. So it'll tell you, what are you betting on? You're betting on the Super Bowl winner. Who is going to win the Super Bowl? That is literally all that has to happen for your bet to win. And remember, the number next to the plus symbol, the higher the number next to the plus symbol, the more money you make. So this is the lowest number out of all NFL teams. The number for a team to win the Super Bowl, the lowest number next to the plus symbol is 650. So this means the Baltimore Ravens have the highest implied chance, based on what the sportsbooks are telling us, of winning the Super Bowl. So yeah, if you bet on this right here, you'll get paid if the Baltimore Ravens win. But when you scroll down here and you see the numbers get into the 4 digits and maybe even the 5 digits, like the Saints and the Browns and the Jets and all these horrendous teams down here, this largest number out of all NFL teams next to the plus symbol means that the Saints have they're the least likely, based on all the data that the sportsbooks have, the least likely to win the Super Bowl. So of course you'll win a lot of money if you bet on that and that happens. But again, why do the sportsbooks pay you more money? They pay you more money when you take on more risk. They pay you less money when you take on less risk. If you bet on the favorite team, you're going to make less money than if you bet on the most underdog team. So they're going to pay you a ton if you bet on this, because you're taking on a risk that you're going to bet on the team that is the worst team right now. I don't even know who the starting quarterback is at this point for the Saints. You're betting on the worst team in the NFL, statistically speaking, as of right now. So yeah, if there's a crazy miraculous season where the Saints win the Super Bowl and you bet them at plus 40,000, you're going to make a good chunk of change. But you have to factor in a bunch of other things. Do not just bet because, the sportsbooks will pay me a lot of money. You see down here, so when I clicked on this, it'll give me a scenario. If you just put $10 on the Saints to win, you win $4,000. So yeah, you can bet on one thing and turn $10,000 to $4,000. But there's a reason for it. Why do the sportsbooks pay you more? Because it's so unlikely to actually happen. You can't just keep making these $10,000 to $4,000 picks, whether they're one pick like a Super Bowl winner, whether they're a bunch of picks like a Bill parlay. Of course, they're going to pay you more because they want to entice you. They're all about tricking you into making bets that are not going to happen. Sportsbooks are trillion-dollar companies because they're good at tricking you and making you see things that, I can turn $1 into $1,000. I'm going to do that bet. I can turn $10 into $500. I'm going to do that bet. That's how they trap you. You can't just focus on turning the least amount of money into the most amount of money. It's a baby step. What I explain in all my educational videos on my sports betting content that I put out on a daily basis on this channel, which you should be subscribed to if you haven't clicked that button yet, is sports betting is a path from A to Z. In my community Discord, you'll see people dropping tons of screenshots. Winning. We had a person turn $50 into $25,000 10 days ago. They didn't just go from A to Z. They did A, B, C. They did all the baby steps that got them to the point where they were able to have that Z outcome. If you come right into sports betting, or just sports betting, or maybe you just find us and you haven't had success with sports betting, you've lost a lot of money, you cannot go from A to Z. Everybody wants the Z. I understand that you want the Z. Of course you do. That's why you're here and watching this video in the first place. But there are baby steps you have to take. If you have that discipline to go from A to B to B to C to C to D and so forth, it's a guarantee. As long as you stay disciplined, you'll get to the Z. You just have to stay disciplined. 99% of people do not have that discipline. That's why you see so many people losing money every single day, because they are not disciplined they want to go from A to Z and they don't want to take the steps required. But ladies and gentlemen, I hope that helps you. If you have any questions about anything NFL betting, ask me in the comments, or simply just go to the Discord and tag me there. But those are the gist bets for what is a spread, what is a money, what is a total, and what are futures bets. So these are called futures bets here. You can even bet on like the NFC champion, the AFC champion. There's a bunch of different things you can do, but you're betting for something that's not going to happen for another 7 months. So your money's going to be locked up till then. But yeah, so there's the gist. I hope that helps you guys. We're going to be doing more of these videos as the season creeps up here. But good luck with all your betting this NFL season, and we'll see you guys in the Discord.